Welcome to Giggles and Gratitude. I'm Dina, and I'll be the Giggles today.
Well, I'm Diana, and we'll let everybody decide what I'm going to be today.
You got to be full of gratitude. You always are. You know,
It's been a busy week, Dina.
I'm
Yes.
so
Um,
sorry.
no, it's good. Busy keeps us moving and healthy and our brains sharp. So, hey, it's all good.
Yeah, it's better than being bored, I guess.
Yeah. What is that now?
Funny. Well, I realize the name of this episode on Sundays is I want to welcome everyone. I forgot people are listening, hopefully.
Hey, everybody.
I want to welcome everyone, and I want to say I am grateful for you guys, and I'm grateful for Diana because I haven't mentioned gratitude. That's kind of what this episode's supposed to be about, what we're grateful for and what made us giggle this week. But I did want to stop and say I am grateful because I realized when I was editing our episode this past week, which was about funny ways to make money, odd ways to make money. That was a good one.
It was, yeah.
I realized that was the 200th episode of this podcast.
Oh,
Yeah. And I was like,
wow.
what?
Dina, that is awesome. Congratulations. You started this a long time ago, and I'm so proud of you. 200 episodes.
Thank
Wow.
you. Now, you've been here for almost 50. I think this is the 46th.
Okay.
Does it feel like it?
No, I don't really keep count.
So some days it does. I'm going to do this again.
No, but you know what? I never want to miss an opportunity to share something that is on my heart or my mind or that I've been through to, help others. So talking to each other helps us get through the day.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you have that platform because you have a lot of wisdom and kindness to share and compassion to share. So people need to hear it, I think. So I am grateful for you.
You do.
And I did want to say that we still we're heard in a lot of states, but we still are not heard in the same five states. When you started 50 episodes ago, we're in 45 states. The states that we are not listened to in are Alaska, Arkansas, Delaware, South Dakota, and Vermont. And
Hey, come
don't
on, people. Let's
what is going
go.
on?
You're
One
missing
thing I fear is
out.
they don't have internet there, maybe. Maybe they're not online yet. That's the only excuse.
Okay, you can go with that one.
Yeah, but South Dakota, North Dakota's listening. What are you doing?
Well,
Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Listen if you want, don't if you don't. We're here if you ever want to find us. But if you
right?
do know anybody in any of those states, tell them just to start. You just listen for 30 seconds and turn it off, and then it'll register as.
No, when they get to past 20 seconds, they're not going to want to stop listening.
Yeah, there you go. They get past this part. And then countries, Diana. We're in 47 countries.
Oh.
And I mean, that's a lot to say, but I was looking at them and I was just like, how is this even possible that we're in some of these countries? And we've
Well, I
added,
can I can tell you the answer that I think, and I
okay.
think that is the Lord above with his hand on our podcast, allowing people to be blessed in some way. Wherever it is they are hurting, maybe we're speaking to that.
Oh, I hope so. But of course, we're in the United States. And this is the order in popularity, or most listeners. United States, Ireland, China, United Kingdom, Bangladesh, Australia, Canada, India, Ukraine, Mexico, Norway, Russia, Spain, Austria, Philippines, Brazil, Germany, South Africa, Hungary, Iran, Republic of Moldova, remember that one? Cambodia,
Yeah.
Japan, Republic of Lithuania, Romania, that's where vampires are, I think, Poland, so vampires listen. Italy, I was going to say Italy, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Thailand, New Zealand, Turkey, Netherlands, Peru, Albania, Bahamas, Belgium, Guinea, Serbia, Portugal, France, Oman, Algeria, Argentina, Colombia, Sweden, and can you believe this one? Palestine. We just added that one.
So I don't speak that many languages.
Well, people are smart in other countries and they learn English. And
Is
English
that
is
what?
such It's such a hard
Really?
thing to learn. I don't know how they do it.
So it doesn't automatically switch over to their
I
language?
don't know if that's possible. I'd love to hear myself speaking some of those languages. That would be pretty funny.
Wow.
Maybe they could turn on closed caption, maybe, and on YouTube, and it would translate for them. But I just can't imagine what's going on in Palestine. And somebody clicked, maybe they clicked on it by accident. And were like, "Whoops, I didn't mean to click that one," but they still clicked it. So I'll take it. I'll take it. And I said all that as I wanted to be sure to be thankful for that since it was the 200th episode and how far we've come. But then the topic I chose kind of related to that, and I was kind of convicted. But I wanted to go ahead and be honest and say all this stuff that I had intended to say. But today, Diana, I wanted to talk about humility versus pride. And we can decide if what I just did was prideful, possibly.
What? Just telling everybody where we're hurt? I think that's just a fact. I didn't hear any pride in your voice. You're
Okay.
proud of what we've done, but it is
Yes.
not being boastful.
Okay. I think a lot of people, if they were asked if they were humble or prideful, they would say, well, I'm self-deprecating. I kind of put myself down. I don't think I'm so great. I screw up a lot. I don't really feel like I brag on myself a lot. I mean, I'm not going to hide my gifts and I'm not going to get down on myself all the time, but I wouldn't call myself prideful. And then I watched this video from Faith Forge on YouTube, and I'll include a link because I really suggest you listen to it. And I felt like I found a treasure chest in this video full of information that humbled me when I watched it. So I wanted to share it with you and see if maybe you're convicted by any of these things yourself.
Right?
Okay. I'm not saying you should be. I'm just saying you might be.
Throwing
All
it out there.
right. So listeners think, would you call yourself truly humble or do you think you're prideful? And what's wrong with being prideful? Okay, here we go. Have you ever thought you were humble only to later realize pride had quietly slipped in? Maybe you spoke gently, avoided attention, and thought, I'm doing well. But humility isn't just about your tone or your posture, it's about the condition of your heart before God. Pride can disguise itself in ways we barely notice. It doesn't always look like arrogance. Sometimes it looks like control, comparison, or quiet self dependence. Any thoughts so far?
I like that quiet self dependence.
Yes, I think I'm convicted by that one. And I know some people who are, which doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a bad thing, does it? Quiet self dependence. But let's
No.
just see. I know that seems like a good trait. Okay, so these are the 5 signs that reveal when pride might be hiding in plain sight and how you can walk in the kind of humility that would draw you closer to God. So they're saying that those descriptions will actually can build a wall between you and God, even though you talk to Him every day, you love Him, you do your best to follow His guidelines, and you study the Bible. You may not be as close as you can get to Him because of these walls you're building yourself that you wouldn't even know. So here we go. First one, you struggle to receive correction. Pride rarely announces itself. It hides behind defensiveness. When someone offers correction, even gently, do you feel that instant urge to explain or justify yourself? Maybe you nod outwardly, but inside you're thinking, they don't understand this situation. I am not the problem. Pride resists correction because it equates being wrong with being weak. But Proverbs 12:1 says, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. I didn't know the word stupid was in the Bible, but apparently. So how do you feel about that one?
I feel like we all can stand for correction. And when you have that haughty type of demeanor or response, you're not going to learn anything from obviously someone is trying to share their knowledge with you of something. And I like to sit back and recognize a different way to do it or see it through a different set of eyes.
Hmm.
Um it also depends on the person who is bringing this information to you and how they present it. For example, if you are doing something and I come in and I tell you, why are you being so stupid? Why are you doing it this way? Do it this way.
Here, let me have that.
Yeah. As opposed to, hey, have you ever thought about doing it this way and then explain an alternative, kind of thought process? So, being a nurse, I always remember, especially when I worked in ICU, I would always go to the doctors and make sure that I understood exactly what was happening with the patient. And was there something that I should have saw that I didn't see? And they were very welcoming of that type of attitude of I wanted to learn, I wanted to absorb, I wanted to know everything that all of them knew so that I would not miss something on a patient. So I do think it's how we put ourselves into the category of just because we don't know something does not mean we are stupid. We are ignorant of it, and ignorance can also mean you ignore it. Because when we ignore something, we are not enabling ourselves to grow in different ways.
I think someone could say, this is the way I've always been doing it, and you're not going to tell me how to do it. I would call that stubbornness, and I've been guilty of that probably. But remember that correction isn't rejection, it's protection. So I think it depends on who, if you respect the person, you feel like they have more knowledge than you do in that situation. Uh,
Right.
but I think we could all, after hearing this, we could all stop and the person is, you take it as criticism, but you sit back and think, hmm. I mean, I know you were in a situation that you had to sit back and think about it. Did I
Yeah.
do that? You're good at that. You're good at saying, okay, hold on. Let me stop and think. Give me some quiet time and let me figure out and digest everything you're saying here. You don't just
Right.
put your hand up and say, get away. Don't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
So, God uses feedback, even uncomfortable words from others, to shape you into the image of Christ. So, if the person correcting you is somebody that you feel like is walking well with Christ and you even admire their walk, then stop and listen and digest it, I think. A humble heart pauses before reacting. It asks, Lord, is there truth in what they're saying? Instead of defending, it listens. The more teachable you become, the stronger you grow. When you stop fighting correction and start receiving it, peace replaces that pride. So that's an unexpected place where you're being prideful. It's unexpected to me.
Yeah. But you get a blessing out of it at the end if you're willing to kind of cool your jets a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. God doesn't correct to embarrass you, He corrects to elevate you, which is what you just said, basically. Every time you receive truth with grace, you give Him permission to refine your heart. I just think that's so pretty.
I was going to say, wow, that really moves me. I like that.
Yeah. Sign two, you compare yourself to others. Comparison is pride, which I never thought about. Comparison is pride wearing a disguise. It
Mm.
whispers, you're doing better than them, or you'll never catch up with them. Either way, your focus shifts from God's calling to human measuring sticks. Pride,
That
go ahead.
that's I'm just gonna say I gotta chime in on that.
Okay.
That is probably one of the most prevalent things that our society is dealing with right now.
Because you're exposed to so many people and what they're doing, and they put their best foot on social media.
Mhm. Absolutely.
You're like, I didn't have that much fun this weekend. My house doesn't look that clean. How's her house always clean like that? Pride feeds on comparison because it wants control over worth. Like I think about that. Pride feeds on comparison because it wants control over worth. It needs to know it's ahead or it despairs when it feels behind. But
Mhm.
Galatians 6:4 says each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. The more you compare, the more you lose sight of what God uniquely placed in your hands.
Yeah. And I think she's beautiful, and I have nothing negative to say. But I'm not Kim Kardashian, and I never will be. That is a futile use of my energy, and I wish a lot of our young girls would listen to this and understand that, you know, what they have to offer is so unique to this world, and be happy in your body and recognize you're not perfect, but you are never going to be able to compare yourself to other people and come out on the positive end of that. We are our own worst enemies when it comes to that.
Yeah. And that's actually pride. You know, if you think of yourself that, oh, you may think, no, I'm very humble because I know I'm not pretty. I know I'm not this or that. That's actually pride.
Hmm.
That's which is interesting. When you stop comparing, you make room for gratitude. You start celebrating others instead of competing with them. That's what you just did. You celebrated Kim Kardashian. You weren't meant to be Kim Kardashian. She wasn't meant to be you. So you could celebrate her. You're not jealous of her.
No,
You know,
no, not at all.
yeah. Humility recognizes that every believer runs a different race, but we're all on the same team. The next time you're tempted to measure your progress by someone else's, stop. Stop! And thank God for what He's entrusted to you. You're not called to be better than them. You're called to be faithful where you are. Humility finds rest when it remembers that my value doesn't rise or fall with what others do. It's anchored in who God says I am. That's so, isn't this so good?
I'm
So
just
good.
soaking it in. Yes.
Yeah.
Keep it up, girl.
All right. I didn't write it. I wish I did, but I sure got a lot out of it. My value doesn't rise or fall with what others do. It's anchored in God, who God says I am. All right. Sign three. You might be prideful. You need recognition to feel valuable. Pride craves attention because it confuses applause with affirmation. It's easy to serve, give, or lead and secretly hope someone will notice. When no one does, discouragement sets in. But Jesus said in Matthew 6:4, your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. God often tests your heart by hiding your effort from human eyes. He wants to know, will you still serve when no one's watching? Will you still love me when no one claps? Humility does what's right, even when it's unseen. The truth is, your value isn't determined by recognition, it's proven by faithfulness. Pride feeds on praise. Humility is nourished by your purpose for doing it. When your joy depends on who's watching, it's unstable. But when your joy is rooted in obedience, it never runs dry. Every hidden act of obedience builds something eternal. Heaven celebrates what the world overlooks. So keep on going, even if all the stuff you're doing is unnoticed and unappreciated. The humble heart doesn't need a stage, it just needs God's smile. Again,
I want to put posters of what you're saying on my walls so I can get up and see that every morning.
isn't that wonderful? It's a meme. It's a meme waiting to be made. I'm gonna have to make them. It's just so I guess it's speaking to me because I have done things before and thought, nobody's I think I was raised, my mother wanted me to be humble. She was worried, her biggest fear was that I would be snooty or stuck up or think too highly of myself. And I don't know, maybe it was how she was raised, but so I never felt praised for what I did. So I always looking for it somewhere else. And if I had read this and known this, I would have probably made different decisions in my life that would have made my life a little bit better. But to think everything you do is for God to see, it's just, I mean, it just makes it so simple and peaceful and clear to me. What are your thoughts on all that?
That's right. I love the part where you said what human eyes don't see, or what earthly, as we're here, does not see. God sees everything. But not only does he see our actions, he sees within our heart and our mind. If we are doing the dishes, for instance, and we're doing it with a poor attitude of, well, nobody cares, nobody's going to thank me or recognize my hard work here. Mm, we need to take a step back and recognize that that's something I'm probably not going to get praised for.
Hmm. Yeah, people
you
only
know?
notice when the dishes are in the dish, in the sink, not when they're not in the sink.
But it is something that needs to be done, and I try to do it with a cheerful heart. I'm usually singing or listening to music or doing something, so I keep myself within a good attitude. And when I feel that tug of wanting recognition, I remind myself that again, I don't measure up in the eyes of the world, but I do measure up to my God.
Hmm. Yeah. You're doing those dishes because you are grateful for your home. You're grateful you had food that dirty up these dishes.
Right.
And you know that you have to keep the house clean to be safe and healthy. And to mistreat the house like that means you're not grateful for it, in my opinion. So kind of tell yourself that when you're God's smiling when you're washing dishes and singing, Diana. That's sweet. All right. The fourth thing, you struggle to admit when you're wrong. Nothing reveals pride more than the ability to say, you know what? I was wrong. I was wrong. It's one of the hardest sentences for the human heart to speak. Pride wants to protect your reputation. Humility protects your relationships. Pride says, I can fix this quietly. Humility says, I need to own this out loud, fully, and admit my fault. Admitting a fault doesn't make you small, it makes you real. James 4:10 says, humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. When you humble yourself, you make space for God to restore what pride tries to hide. There's healing in confession. When you say, I messed up, grace rushes in. Pride builds walls, humility opens doors. You'll never lose ground by telling the truth. In fact, honesty is the soil where trust and intimacy grow. The next time the Holy Spirit nudges you to apologize, don't resist it. Say the words. Choose humility over ego because every time you bow low in repentance, God lifts you up with mercy.
Amen.
I
I
think
can
you're good
tell.
at saying I'm wrong. I've heard you say it before.
Hey, I'm wrong on a lot of things, sister. So I'm pretty used to saying that. Once you get in the habit of it, um, I, I, I so want to know more about wherever this is that you got this.
Oh,
What a treasure, like you
isn't it?
just said.
Yeah, it's like people who we said last week, I think, when you feel powerless, you don't want to give up that I screwed up, I was wrong. You just hide it inside and say, ooh, they were right. I'm not going to give them that power over me by admitting I was wrong. But if you'll do that, God will lift you up.
Yes.
You're never going to be lifted up in mercy for something you did wrong if you just keep it in secret in your heart and don't confess it. So you're doing yourself a disservice by not confessing. It doesn't matter if that other person has more power over you because you told them, yeah, you're right, I screwed up. It doesn't matter what they think or what they do or what level they're in. We've already determined by this that we're not running the same race. We all have our own race we're running and we're with God. So if He's going to lift us up, why do we care if we say we're wrong to someone? Okay, and finally, and I'm sorry it's over, but finally, we got to do Diana's devotions. So we got to have time for that. All right, the final one. You depend, and this I am so convicted by, and I thought I was doing it because I was humble. You depend more on yourself than on God. This might be the most dangerous form of pride, self-reliance. And that's what we said at the beginning, that quiet self-reliance. You pray, but deep down you trust your own plans. You're like, God, help me through this. I already know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to say, help me through this, Lord. Your own timing and your own strength. You do it on your own plans, your own timing, your own strength. Pride says, if I don't make it happen, it's not going to happen. But humility admits, apart from you, Lord, I can do nothing. Jesus said in John 15:5, I am the vine, you are the branches. Apart from me, you can do nothing. When you live disconnected from dependence on God, you've got to depend on Him. Even your success becomes fragile. But when you lean into Him, your life becomes fruitful, not because of effort, but because of the connection with God. Humility isn't laziness, it's surrender. Depending on God doesn't mean you're lazy or weak. You're surrendering to Him. It's saying, God, I will plan, but I trust you to guide me. I'll work, but I'll rely on your strength to work. The humble believer doesn't carry the weight of the world because they've learned to rest it in the one who holds the world. When you truly depend on God, you find peace where anxiety used to live. You realize He doesn't need your performance, He wants your partnership. True humility isn't about thinking less of yourself, because a lot of people are like, nobody ever helped me in life. Everybody's always put me down. I might even have been abused at home. So I am not going to be humble and think less of myself. I'm going to be proud of myself. That's not what it means. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just was laughing at that. That was kind of funny.
It's about thinking of yourself less. True humility isn't about thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less and depending on God more. Pride resists correction, but humility learns. Pride compares, but humility celebrates. Pride demands recognition, but humility serves quietly. Pride hides fault, but humility confesses freely. Pride relies on itself, but humility leans on God. Okay, I kind of skipped over. They were summing up what they had said, and I kind of skipped over that last one about, and I think it's the most important one. What I do is I love God, I pray to God, but I don't want to bother Him. And I think I'm just going to do this myself. And if I screw up, I'll come to God and say, I screwed this up. What should I do now? Because He's got so much to do. And I don't really think I'm worthy. I mean, I know none of us are worthy. I know that. But I think to myself, Dina, you're not worthy to keep tapping on the shoulder and saying, what should I do here? Should I do red or blue here? Or should I go here or not go here? And that is stupid. And I think it actually hurts his feelings, and it's also making a disconnect between me and God. But I feel like I'm being humble by not bothering him, not bothering my daddy like that. So I do
Right.
that.
I like what you just said. I think that people don't recognize we can't hurt God's feelings. I certainly have been guilty of that and will probably be guilty of it a lot, not meaning to, but I want to try in every way that I can to never hurt God's feelings.
Right.
And yes, He wants to be part of your life. He wants to uh, be with you in the car while you're driving to the post office to get your mail. In that moment where you hear about your friend that has been in a severe accident, and then when you have a falling out with your husband or your girlfriend or boyfriend, everything in life, it doesn't matter what it is never too little for God. And I promise you, Dina, He has got time for you, honey.
I know, I struggle so much. Yeah, I feel like when I get to heaven, I'll say, "See, all these people asked for. I never bothered you. I didn't bother you. I just sat over here, screwed up my life all by myself, but I loved you." It's so wrong. It's so wrong. So let's see how I can sum this up, and then we'll turn it over to Diana to do a great devotion today, I'm sure. So when you hear the word pride and being proud, you think of it as positive, but for your soul, it's not a positive. And like I said, pride resists correction, pride compares, pride demands recognition, pride relies on itself, and that's just going to put you in a you might do good for a while, but the feet are going to fall out from under you. And you're going to go to God anyway. So you might as well do it from the beginning and avoid all the hurt and the hurt you may cause others and undoable damage that you might be. So just remember that the humble heart is not weak. It's powerful because every time you bow before God, He stands up on your behalf. So I would just say that for the Lord to teach me true humility because I thought I was doing it when I really wasn't. This should strengthen your spirit and draw you closer to God. First Peter 5:6 says, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand. I don't know how clearer that can be. That He may lift you up. It's not because He wants you to bow down before Him because He wants to, I'm in control. You let lower yourself to me. It's He wants to lift you up in His time. You don't need to fight for position or prove your worth. When your heart bows low before Him, He'll raise you in His timing. All right. Thank you guys for listening to me blab. I hope it helped or spoke to you. And I'll have a link here so you can watch this video over again and maybe take notes to what speaks to you. And thank you guys for listening. I love you guys. I love you, Diana. Take it away. Bring us home.
Okay, honey. All right, here we go. So, this devotional is going to be called More Than Enough. And again, this is so in tune with what Miss Dina has just shared.
Yeah.
So, the words more than enough, we actually hear that a lot in society anymore, that reassuring, especially young girls, you are enough. You don't have to compare yourself to the Kim Kardashians of the world. But it also speaks in God's word. Um, and He reassures us that we are more than enough. We are more than conquerors. And we are enabled to do everything that He has created us to do. And just let that sit for just a minute. You have everything that you need in order to get to the end of your destiny. It's just a matter of humility so that we can accept words that enable us to be smarter, work things a little bit quicker. That does not mean you are a failure or that you're not enough. I believe that we, as God's children, His daughters and His sons, He has created us to utter perfection. And we are part of His perfect plan right now, not tomorrow, not when you lose weight, not when you find a boyfriend, not when you get married. It is right now. Being in that moment. And although sometimes we do feel lonely, just remember that we are never alone. Our Father, our Daddy, walks beside of us, and He will never, ever abandon us. So listen, go back to what Dina just said, and don't let desperation lead you to destruction. And it is so easy to get swept away in these soap opera like entanglements of this world. But set your sights on, fulfilling the purpose that God has set before you. He has a plan for you, and it will happen in His time and in His way, and not 1 minute before. I'm going to leave you with Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and give you a future." Thank you for listening. We appreciate your time. We, as always, hold you close in our hearts and hope that God will open your mind and your heart to receive this today, and that it helps you in tomorrow to be a better you. Take care, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye-bye.